Good morning, everybody. We are back, and it is the right side of campus. And we're live on a Friday, July 20th, 2018. We're back from a little hiatus. I am the big man on campus. He's Donnie Rightside. We're back from a couple days off here, getting you ready for the second half of baseball season. We'll get into a lot more as well. We missed some things over the week. Hope you had a great week and a good couple days off through the All-Star break. Let's get into the show. Donnie Rightside, how you doing today?
Good to be back in the saddle. Nice little couple days off. Had the little reprieve Wednesday. Got a little bit of talk in on the sports roundtable here at sportsbookreview.com. But we should have a lot of fun. Second half going to get underway. We'll see if those dogs ends up catching up to the favorites, where the favorites were crushing it over the first half of Major League Baseball season. But also, Jeff, as we know, the NFL getting underway. Training camps are open. The British Open is on right now. The World Cup is over. I'm ready for the fall, my man.
Yeah, the general gist is once the All-Star game in baseball goes past, generally I look at my birthday as like the middle point. Once the birthday's over, it's starting to get to the end of July, and we got football. August is a throwaway month to me. I've never really I don't care much about August. It's never really big on the totem pole as far as months are concerned. It's one of those months, Donnie, where not a lot happens. You're just kind of jonesing, ready for it to get over. Labor Day, fall starts, summer's over, football's here. We are promoting. Are we promoting Intertops? Yes, we are. Intertops, the promoted sportsbook of the week until further notice. Make sure you check out Intertops if you're in the market for a new book. Make sure football season coming up. Make sure you have a variety of books. Make sure you have a variety of options. Make sure the payout options are good. Intertops takes care of you with all that. They've been in the business for a very long time. Make sure you check out Intertops today. Welcome into everyone out there checking the show out. If you're in here always, we appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button and retweet the show. And if you're out there and you're new and you're seeing the show and you like it, retweet it. Get it out there. If you have Twitter, make sure you're sharing the show. It's a great way to get it out to people that might not know it's on and might enjoy it themselves. Let's get into it. First of all, Donnie, let me ask you, what did you do over the week?
Yeah, no, I went to hit the shore over the weekend. Nice relaxing week. Did a couple little knick-knack things. Had to get my car inspected, get the plates put on. Just that little stuff that maybe you don't have time to do. Didn't get a haircut yet. That's coming today, but we're prepping there. And you're right. Bring up that original point about August, Jeff. Growing up playing football, August was always the worst month of the year. Why is that? Because you're doing doubles and triples in 95-degree weather, preparing for the football season. And on top of that, as a kid, Jeff, you didn't like August because you know what came next? September and the start of school. The minute I graduated college, got a real job, fast forward the summer, get me towards football season. Funny how things change in life like that.
Yeah, look, you still, got to, recognize August, there's still a lot to do, and you're sure and stuff like that. But it is one of those months you just kind of want to get through. But let's get into the show. Welcome to a couple of people: Sonny Betts, Little E, Michael, Larry. Larry, a mainstay on the Gabe Morency chat. Welcome in, Larry. Brian, Sam, Comic Ricky, a longtime listener. Walla Dose, Matthew, Skooma Steve. We don't do a lot of shout outs on this show, but we'll do them now. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening. Guan, Alex, Vaughn, everybody, welcome in. Oh, yeah, Sixer star hunting, getting Kyle Korver. Yeah, right. Exactly. Big time star, huh? Let's get into the recap. A lot of recap here. We'll start out with let's go to this first. The WSOP, Donnie. This happened over the time off. It kind of wrapped up, but I wanted to bring this up just because of the mayhem that ensued. Firstly, you had the World Series, which we talked about, but then you look at, Donnie, the random event that they have, the $1 million buy-in event. So you only have about 30 people buying into that because not many people can pony up $1 million. The winner grabbed $10 million. His name is Justin Bonomo. He was the winner. But the big thing, Donnie, was how we got to three players, or two players, I'm sorry. The second place finisher knocked out two players with his pocket tens, Donnie. He had pocket tens. Rick Solomon, who, if you know Rick Solomon, Donnie, he was the guy that was in the Paris
Cam
Hilton
Anderson.
sex tape. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right. He's a big time movie producer. He had Ace, King of Hearts, and then the other kid, Coverman, had the low stack at the table. He had Ace Five of Clubs. So basically, Holtz was risking 29 million to call, but if he wins, he's going to knock out both, and they're getting to the final table. Two people left. He had a time extension, and he knocked them both out. It was a big time tournament. I remember, watching it. It was really interesting to watch. I've seen this $1 million tournament before. Look, obviously, it's not something that is very difficult for some of these guys to pony up, but for most of us, it is a $10 million prize to Bonomo. He rides off into the sunset. Listen, second place, not too bad. You get, I think, 5 million. So, not too bad. A couple days, you make a couple million. Pretty impressive. Well, looks like we lost Donnie. We'll have to get him back. Um, Remember when Antonio won? Yeah, I do remember when Antonio won. It was an interesting hand, though. That hand there, really impressive stuff. And that kid that won, Bonomo, he's a really good player. Very good. Knows what he's doing. Both those two, very good players. Phil Ivey didn't even cash. And by the way, to cash in this tournament, only 6 people get paid, I believe, or 8 people get paid. Pretty not very much wiggle room there. You could be that seventh place finisher and not get anything. Pretty tough. Do we have Donnie? Donnie, you back? Donnie?
I don't know. I'm checking behind the
Donnie, there
scenes,
he is.
uh, see if it is. I mean,
All
you'll
right.
probably hear me, but I'm not sure. There, it looks like we're clear, ready to go. No, World
So,
Series poker, interesting stuff. Get back to the Rick Solomon thing. I remember him paying off like Pamela Anderson's debts for a couple nights of fun with her. So interesting guy to say the least.
yeah, no, he's actually a pretty good player as well. He plays in a lot of bigger cash games and big tournaments. Listen, Donnie, consolation prize, second place, you get 6 million bucks. So
Man.
not too bad for 5 million for a couple days. Not too bad. But Donnie, how about being the seventh place finisher, David Einhorn, who finished in seventh place, doesn't get a dime. Actually loses $1 million. But you know what, Donnie? We'll take consolation in knowing he's a hedge fund manager and is a billionaire.
Yeah, yeah. Write it off like
Plus,
that.
by the way, Donnie, he all of his winnings he donates. So it would kind of suck to knock him out. Actually, I would have kind of like, damn, I'd rather you kind of win. At least it's going something good. But yeah, interesting stuff there. We'll be back with the World Series next year, where they do it again out in Vegas. British Open, Donnie, is going on
Yeah.
right now. Obviously, 5 hours ahead over in England. They are a little bit ahead of us. Currently in first place, Kevin Kisner at six under. They're only through eight. A couple of finished. Zach Johnson has made a nice little roll here. He's up to six under. Tommy Fleetwood, Donnie, the kid from England, he's settling back as well. He's through his second round. He's at -5. So you're starting to see this kind of develop a little bit halfway through the tournament over in what are we, Scotland? I don't know where this is. Somewhere in England.
Scotland.
Carnoustie.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Scotland, which is different than England. Sorry, I meant to say I thought it was England for some reason.
We're all the
But
same.
what are your thoughts, Donnie? Your boy Tony Finau, he's down in tied for fourth. He tees off at 10:30 a.m. Here in a little bit. Prize 10.5 million for the British Open. Donnie, what are your thoughts on it early?
Yeah, no, I've always liked Tony Finau. Ever since dating back to the Masters, where he really came onto the scene, where he was celebrating a hole-in-one in the par three competition, and his ankle went left and he went right, but was still able to finish out and play well in the tournament. That's my guy. I'm rooting for him in this tournament. But it's interesting because you wake Jeff 1:30 a.m. You had live coverage where they were teeing off at the British Open. So if you want to stay up all night, watch it, gamble. I don't know. Some people like with head-to-head competitions or who's going to beat who. Hey, maybe some people were out there burning the midnight oil on the West Coast, Jeff. 10:30 last night. They were teeing off in round two of the British Open. Should be an interesting finish. I'm not a big fan of the British Open just because I look at these courses and it looks like, you can go to some burnt out, schoolyard somewhere, where they don't cut the grass and water it over the summer. That's what the British Open looks like, typically, with everything being basically a beige, yellow out there. It's kind of funny to look at, but it is an interesting competition where, it's links style golf. If you're not familiar with that, you watch the Masters, the lush greens, you're trying to place it here. In this, it's more scramble golf, which is fun to watch at times. But I like to see the British Open, Jeff, with massive rains and sideways wind. You're not getting that right now. So the scores are a little bit inflated here. I like to see it more around par as opposed to, 6, 7 under some of these guys already are.
A couple of notables, Rory McIlroy making a bit of a run. He's up to
Mhm.
-4 in fourth place. Who else do we have here? John Rahm, he isn't teed off yet. He's about to. Matt Kuchar, Ricky Fowler at 1 under, and Tiger Woods at even. So he's at even, not too far back, but I think we are all well aware he's probably not going to come back. He's too far back. We also have Justin Rose, Jordan Spieth. They're all at +1, but have not teed off yet, or they're about to tee off here. So we'll see if one of them can make a bit of a run. I know Fleetwood. I've heard a lot about him. I've heard a lot of good things about him. So we'll see if Tommy Fleetwood can keep up this high level play in his home area. We move on. Thanks to Andre's couple of kind words. Welcome back. Thank you. My weekly routine is back on track with the
Mm.
show. Well, thanks, Josh or Sean. Donnie did pay you to say that, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm. Sure did.
Yes. Let's keep it moving here. What else do we have here on the headlines? Uh, Garoppolo, Jimmy Garoppolo. Who? Listen, Donnie. I said the other day on the roundtable. Um, I do have a bit of a man crush on Jimmy G, and this only reinforces it even more. You look at Jimmy G. First of all, I got a big problem with this story. I got a big problem with the negativity surrounding it, and I have a big problem with, why do you care? Jimmy Garoppolo seemed happy. He went out, seemed like a woman he wanted to hang out with and have, have dinner and, whatever they end up doing. Listen, all of these athletes do the same thing. Okay. You take out a chick, you smash her, whether she's an Instagram model or a porn star, it doesn't really matter. Jimmy G liked the chick. He took her out. They had a good time, seemed to be very interested in each other at dinner. What they talked about, that's their business. It's just like if I take a woman out, Donnie, and you say, think to me, yourself, damn, I don't know. I mean, Jeff might be able to do better than her. Doesn't matter what you think. It's what I like. The Jimmy G thing, I don't understand how this is a problem. I think if they're happy, let them be. Who cares? So she's a porn star. So she doesn't deserve to have happiness because she's a porn star. I mean, maybe Jimmy G was sick of the same old shit. He wanted an older woman, someone that knows what she's doing, very clean. We can argue and say that porn stars aren't clean, but they are. They're the most clean people out there. They have to be for the job that they do. Listen, for me, it would be tough because I don't know that I could get past the fact that, she does do it a lot. But I will say I'm a big fan of hers. I'll make that clear. She's my type. I like that type of woman. I like that tan. I like what she's got going on. So for me, I'd be all about it. Looks like Jimmy G has similar interests, Donnie. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's interesting. The guys and the guy and everybody out there is like, go ahead, Jimmy, get after it. Have some fun out there. People do whatever they do on their own time, which is fine. But it's the life of a professional athlete. It's kind of funny when you look at it because there's one side of Jimmy G out there going, man, I'm living my best life out here. I'm having fun. I'll date whoever I want. And I'm going to have a good time after we eat dinner. That's for sure here. But then there's the business side where his business team and family is probably can't wait to wring his neck and throw a couple body shots at him saying, Jimmy, you're with Nike, you're with Reebok, you're with Adidas. They're calling on the phone. They're threatening, saying you pull some stunt like this again, we're pulling out. Or how about Jimmy? I was going to close an AT&T deal with you. They just saw this, and now they're pulling out of it. Which is again, how much money is too much money anyway? What's he get? 120, 130 million that he's probably going to cash, and that's only after his first contract, and he's probably going to have an even bigger contract next time around. But from a financial standpoint, not a good move. From a guy standpoint, great move.
You want to know what this makes? You know what this seems like to me, Donnie? Seems like Jimmy G, who, we can all be honest here, whether we are the most masculine individuals alive, we can both admit Jimmy G, good looking guy, obviously very wealthy, he's a quarterback in the NFL, doesn't have a problem getting women. But I think Donnie, and I know I know this whole feeling myself. Sometimes when you have had it all, it's really not difficult to go out and just pick up any girl at a club. Not difficult. Maybe he wanted some substance. Maybe he wanted a girl that knew what she was doing. He had to work a little bit for it, and I do think he had to work a little bit for it. This woman, how do we know he paid her? No one has any proof of that. Maybe she just liked the kid. Who knows? I mean, she is
Why would he
41,
have
Donnie.
paid her
Which,
though? Yeah, why would he
yeah,
have paid her? That doesn't make
that doesn't
sense.
make any sense. I've heard people say that, like, he paid her to do this, and I'm thinking, like, first of all, I mean, maybe he gets off on paying her. I mean, some dudes do. Some people like flaunting their wealth to a woman. Maybe he's into that kind of thing, but maybe they just like each other. I mean, maybe that's I know that's not possible to a lot of people because they're so upset with their own lives that they can't find love, so they make it a point to vilify everybody else. I don't. Maybe they just like each other. Maybe that's what's going on here. And they're actually going to date, and if she's going to pick a new career and not do that anymore. Maybe that's
Nah.
what's going to happen here. Who knows? But maybe he just doesn't want to settle down. He wants a woman for the night. They have some fun. They go to dinner because let's be real, all of you are doing the same thing. Most of you out there that are dating, you're taking a girl out, you're trying to have sex with her. If she doesn't have sex with you, you're playing with yourself, and she's going and doing something else. But at the end of the day, if you take a girl out for dinner, have sex with her, there's no real difference here. So we can all vilify Jimmy Garoppolo for this when in turn we're all doing it ourselves. This kid just wanted to get to the business, wanted to leave, and that was that. Who knows? Impressive stuff. Jimmy G, my salute to you. Big fan of Mia, so good for him. Let's get into it. A little NBA talk, Donnie. Carmelo Anthony is the big story. Actually, he's not the big story. He will be in a minute, but Kawhi Leonard was the big story. Kawhi Leonard heading to the Toronto Raptors. And look, I think a lot of people have talked about this. We're a couple days late, obviously being off, but listen, I don't understand the move for Toronto. I don't understand how you're willing to part with all that for 1 year. Because let's be real, it is what it is. It's 1 year. We're not going to see Kawhi Leonard resign in Toronto. This team is not going to be good enough to beat the Boston Celtics. You give up not only DeRozan, who's your main scoring threat, you give up Jakob Poeltl, who was a ninth pick. You also gave up a pick next year as well. It's a lot to give up for a 1 year rental. When I guess if you're trying to get assets together, then okay. But I just don't see it making sense to me. I think long term it's going to hurt Toronto. They're not that far off. They weren't that far off. I just don't know. I guess if you want to become a really good defensive team, this makes total sense to you. But I think that the Spurs got away with something here. I think they were able to finagle a couple really good players away. They got themselves a pick. They're set up pretty well down the road. They get him out of the conference. I think it's a win-win for the San Antonio Spurs. Big man, I just want to say thanks. I bust my ass to make a salary that gets me by. I'm not a large better, but your plays constantly help me add to my bankroll. You're a real one. Thanks. Wow, Scott, thanks, man. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. I'm glad I can help you, man. That's kind. Good for you. I'm happy to hear that it's helping you out. And don't be a stranger, man. Great to hear. Hopefully, you have a nice weekend, man. What do you do, Scott? Um, Big man, think you can run through some futures you like for European leagues? Yes, we'll get to that, Dominic, for sure. I think we're going to be doing some stuff here on the channels, for sure. We'll definitely make sure we take care of that. Looks like we're having some problems with Donnie's call today. We'll continue to try to get him up here. Hope DeRozan. I think DeRozan will, Alex. I think he's a pretty damn good player. He's a guy that gets to the foul line. He's a good scorer. I think he'll do just fine down in San Antonio. Um, yeah, I mean it's interesting. I mean I don't think it's something I would have done. I wanted Kawhi Leonard in Philadelphia, but I needed some kind of assurance that he was going to re-sign long term. Without that, I'm not giving them 3 or 4 players and a pick for him to leave after a year. He is his heart dead set on going to LA. Let him go do that. I don't want him a part of what I'm doing. Carmelo Anthony goes to the Atlanta Hawks, but I think that's going to be short lived. I don't see that. That's not going to be long term. Looks like he'll go to the Houston Rockets or somewhere like that. I know the Sixers were involved. They got Mike Muscala, big deal. I mean, do we really need to talk about Carmelo Anthony anymore? It's like cool, wherever he sets. We know he's going to set up on a big time team, but he needs to understand he is not the guy anymore. He knows that. He needs to be like the David West or the. I remember I saw Richard Jefferson on TV talking about today. He accepted that he wasn't the guy. He just went in and said, "How can you guys? How can I help you guys?" That's what he needs to be at this point. He's not going to be the star. Donnie, you're back. We want to ask you. I'm not sure I understand Kawhi Leonard trade from a Toronto perspective. I do think it sets them back pretty far. You're a team that he's going to lead from next year. You don't have a pick yet again next year, and now you have little to no scoring. I guess you'll be a pretty good defensive team. I mean that's one way to look at it. But what are your thoughts on Carmelo and your thoughts on Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah, looking at the Kawhi Leonard, it's pretty easy to me when you look at from a Toronto perspective, Jeff. All they're doing is looking to walk back the salary cap. The guy, what's he, 3 years of 27, 28 million left. All this is a straight up salary dump for Toronto. They couldn't get over the hump, so they're going to get Kawhi Leonard, knowing full well, Jeff, at the end of the year, they're not going to re-sign Kawhi Leonard. It's almost in the NBA, this is what you have to do to get good if you're a team like Toronto or, a smaller market team or a team that's living in, obviously being in Canada at this point is the only way to build, Jeff, is through the draft. And when your run is over, you're not going to attract that monster free agent. So all you do is collapse the salary cap, rake in all that NBA TV money, sell your fans that we're rebuilding and tank it for 2 to 3 years. That's the state of the NBA. That's why the NBA is an awful product, because the only way to improve for 95% of the cities, Jeff, is to tank to get the number one pick in the draft and hope you can attract a superstar that way and that he stays with your town. Other than that, the NBA is just a drag, man.
Yeah, really hideous.
Yeah.
Um, let's move on. I mean, obviously the NBA is over. I'm sick of talking about it. Um, I wanted to get into some baseball here. Manny Machado goes to the LA Dodgers, which obviously a big time home run for them. I know you and Phillies fans are a bit upset here. This has really been Donnie the as far as off season, a pretty tough off season for mainly the Sixers, but now the Phillies as well. I mean, you have a lot of players just basically saying I'm not interested, and they want to go somewhere else. Um, I think Philadelphia is starting to get, kind of put back in their place a little bit here. You had the high with the Eagles, and we still always have that. But I think the truth of the matter is, Donnie, all the other teams are just really rebuilding, trying to get back to what they can be. I think some are a little big for their britches, i.e., the Sixers, thinking that there's some destination people want to go play at. I think they were quickly put back into place with that. I did want to admit I am a little disappointed that I'm not going to be able to go see Manny Machado if I want to. A hell of a player. I think he could have really helped the Phillies a lot. I think this team is one or two players away from being a real decent force in the NL. Um, Got to be pretty disappointing, Donnie, that you didn't land Manny Machado.
And it's actually a really good thing if you're a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies that you didn't get him. If I'm a fan of the Phillies, which I am, would have loved to see Manny Machado. But at what price? You're not winning anything this year. It's not even a guarantee that you're even going to make it in the playoffs to be a wild card. And if you do get in to be a wild card, what happens if you get knocked out after one game? And then Machado hits the free agent market. Now, the Phillies, where they sit cap wise up against the luxury tax threshold, they can offer Manny Machado $70 million a year if they want to next year because they're so far below. Other teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees are up against that limit. The same thing with the Boston Red Sox at this point. As a Phillies fan, disappointed, yes, but God damn it, at least they are not asleep at the wheel back up there. Don't give up, Sixto Sanchez, which has the comps out there, not to a closer because he's not a closer, but to a guy like Pedro Martinez. If he turns out great, if he doesn't, then oh well. But at this point now, you wait on Machado. If this was the last piece of the puzzle, like the Dodgers possibly could have, and the Dodgers, Jeff, are already on record saying this is about 2018, which they're not even going to look to re-sign Manny Machado. So the Phillies will jump in the free agent market, sign Machado to a 10-year, $350 million contract, and so have plenty on the books to go get up their other players. Would I have loved to see Machado? Absolutely, it would have been fun. But damn it, the Phillies are on the ball in the front office. Wait to just grab him as a free agent and don't give up anything out of your farm system at this point. Because again, Jeff, they're not ready to win anyway, Machado or no Machado.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, this is where I differ with them and the Sixers. I thought, I think we can both agree the Sixers I thought were close to winning, and they were. By not going out and doing anything, you're just right back where you are, and you're still not good enough to win. You look at this team all of a sudden. I mean, that Justin Turner Machado tandem is pretty impressive. Max Muncy's obviously been an all-star. You look at the outfield, Jock Peterson's had a good year. Matt Kemp's had a great year, all-star year. I mean, this team all of a sudden, I mean, not that they weren't good, they're just really bolstered at this point. Um, do they have a weakness? Yeah, I mean, the bullpen's not great, but it's getting there. They're getting some people back. They're going to be just fine. But you look at all the players on the DL with this team. I mean, keep in mind, Corey Seager's been on the DL. All these pitchers have been on the DL, and they've still found a way to be 53 and 43 and in first place. Impressive stuff. As far as um, the other team, the Cleveland Indians, Donnie. make a move for Brad Hand. And listen, I understand Brad Hand's a great pitcher, but explain how this makes sense to me. I don't seem to understand how you have two closers on one team. I mean, no offense, but I mean, I only thought you could win with one closer. I mean, don't these dudes both do the same thing? Close?
Well, no, I mean, you can never have too many bullpen guys. I think it was a fantastic move for the Indians because we
But
all
if you're a
screamed up their
closer,
bullpen, waiting for Andrew Miller to get back. He's not going to be the closer, and he's under control anyway. You're going to do whatever the team tells you to do. Same way Kelvin Herrera goes over to the Washington Nationals. He's not their closer. It's Doolittle.
well, again, I get that. I look at it from a standpoint of if it's me, like I wouldn't want to screw up that person. The way they pitch, they're used to being closers. I would just leave them the way they are. But who closes? Is it Hand or is it Allen? Who's the closer?
I mean, it's probably still going to be Allen. I mean, you're going to keep the same guy in house. Usually, you don't bring in a guy to close when you already have a closer. You just bring him in high leverage situations, seventh, eighth inning. Because once the playoffs get around, Jeff, a closer sort of is going to be able to move around. Because when you're all hands on deck type of situations, it'd be really nice to bring in a lockdown closer in the eighth inning to get out of a second and third with two outs, and then still have your closer in the ninth. So it's just an embarrassment of riches. And they got Simber as well, so they're loading up for a run because they see the writing on the wall, Jeff. That is a down not conference, a down division for them that they're actually going to win. So they're going to be looking forward to the playoffs. They're just trying to set up the back end of the rotation because they have the starting pitching, they have the hitting. Now apparently getting two really good pieces to the bullpen back there. That's going to help out the Indians. And certainly if you're betting the Indians, it's always nice to have an embarrassment of riches in the back end.
I'm still not buying Cleveland. Not doing it. Not doing it yet. But listen, don't make the playoffs because they're in an
Mhm.
awful division. Let's get into some of the All-Star game stuff. Listen, I didn't watch any of this shit. I don't care. Donnie, your thoughts on the All-Star game and home run derby?
Yeah, home run derby. I watched Reese Hoskins hit for the first round, and I turned it off because it was just completely boring to me, as it is every single year. Now it turns out, watching the highlights, it was a lot of fun to watch. But I see home runs all the time. And shout out to the Major League Baseball players, Jeff, like Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, who say that this could hurt their swing for the rest of the season. I don't really know if anybody knows that
Legit.
they go early to baseball games. These guys swing from their heels a good 30 to 50 times in the cage, putting on a home run show for every single opposing fan base. So it's just one of those things like Jordan would just duck out of the NBA dunk competition in the late 80s just because he didn't want to do it. LeBron James would make up some ridiculous story out there. It's just something they probably wanted to head to town and party, didn't want to have to deal with. But the whole I mess up my swing when these guys are swinging 150 times in batting practice trying to hit it out of stadiums is hilarious.
Um, yeah, as far as the All-Star game itself, a lot of home runs there as well, which makes total sense because that's all the league is now is home runs
Exactly.
and strikeouts. It was
Yeah.
2-1 going into the eighth inning. Pretty ugly stuff. If you had the under in this game, which a lot of people did because they thought just like everyone else and said, "Oh, well, probably going to go under." I mean, we got so many good pitchers. Nobody scores. A lot of strikeouts in this league anymore. Um, so yeah, as far as that's concerned, yeah, I didn't watch the All-Star game, so I don't really have much on it.
No, no, and I watched a little bit of it early. I saw it was a lower. So I said, hey, look, man, underbackers, and all of a sudden it got crazy. I was actually in bed and sleeping, and woke up and saw the game was headed, tied up late. So I mean, it was interesting from a game perspective. And to me, of all people, Jeff, I'm always rooting for mayhem. So I was actually hoping the game went longer, and then they had to call to the mounds and say all our pitchers are used. Let's call it a tie and go home, and everybody had fun. But I'm not a big fan of any All-Star game out there. I just think it's a sham. And hey, look, if there's a lot of home runs, you're right, Jeff. Launch angle out there, home run or strikeout. That's where you get in Major League Baseball. If you have fun watching, as when I was a kid growing up in the '80s, Jeff loved it, but now not so much.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. Baseball's a dying breed. I think, as we could see, we're seeing that the attendance is becoming a problem. It was a problem obviously early on. It still is. We'll see what happens. We'll get into more baseball here in a minute. Couple questions here. Can you discuss big three games? I mean, there's not really much to discuss. I mean, it's really just looking at the teams that are playing and you're kind of betting against certain teams and betting on certain teams. Tri-State is obviously a bet on team. Ghost Ballers and Ball Hogs are fade teams. Um, yeah, we're having some trouble with Donnie. I mean, can we just get him on sound or something at this point?
No,
You
all
know,
I do is when it freezes, I can just always reset my camera there.
okay,
But I downloaded
okay,
a extension that came through last night. As always, like, what? Hey, look at this new download. Put it through for your camera, and it seems like that's what's causing the issue. But it'll freeze every once in a while. I'll just keep restarting it and not miss any time.
all right. Let's get into the second half here, Donnie. Second half of baseball. I know you're obviously widely interested in it. You're getting into it more and more. You're winning units, and you're ready for another second half. Maybe we should be asking you the games because I got to tell you, I don't give a fuck about baseball
No, going this is. I
right
mean,
now. But
usually the last game before the deadline, or not before the not the deadline. Excuse me, before the All Star break. Usually tough because guys have already booked their trip. They're going to Vegas. They're going to the Bahamas. They're going to Jamaica. Wherever they're going with their girlfriend, their friends, just to blow off some steam, and then they got to come back. So now you're saying, all right, these guys were taking hits from a bong, doing beer bongs, doing God knows whatever, probably not sleeping a lot, drinking all night long, gambling all night long, and all of a sudden, oh, we got to get back to work, fellas. Typical, like, you take a vacation from an average job or whatever job you have out there, and you get back and sit in the saddle like, I don't even feel like being here right now. Some of these guys are getting that burn. So just be careful when you're betting some of these games coming back today. Even the pitchers, I don't know, maybe they were throwing on their off days out there, but you're just taking a flight to another city, Jeff, with some sunburn and a hangover and saying, hey, get in there and start working on your game again.
yeah, I definitely think if you're like a bad team, you're probably like, fuck, man, I really don't want to do this. Like we're like the Orioles, and we have 70 losses. It's like, I mean, that would suck kind of having to like go on like a little vacation. You got to come back and go, go to Toronto and play baseball. It's like, fuck, like, do I really feel like doing this? But let's, as these players are, and I am, let's get into it.
Yeah, what do we got? 9:15, 9:16. We'll talk a little Boston and Detroit action. Jeff, lefty on the mound there. David Price going against Detroit. I know it's one of the situations that you do like to look at. 84% are going to back the road team here, Jeff. The Boston Red Sox minus 200, minus 205. It opens up at minus 182, minus 185. So coming back a little bit, but it's pretty evident here the haves and the have-nots right now. Boston getting a lot of money in this situation. And again, both of these lineups should be good to go. A lot of these guys coming back off the DL are just rested and ready. There'll be some full go lineups, just a matter of how quickly they catch back on, Jeff, into the flow.
Yeah, Matt Boyd's lost the wheel. I mean, he was lost to the wheel kind of coming into the All-Star break. He's going to be lost at the wheel again. I mean, he's not pitched well lately. He's given up a ton of hits, a ton of runs, ERA of close to 8 over his last 3 starts. He's off in last 2 starts, 10 innings, 11 earned runs. Matt Boyd has been figured out, and he's regressed considerably, giving up home runs, just not doing anything correctly, really. Now you got to face probably the best lineup in baseball, or one of the best lineups in baseball. It's not a good omen for Matt Boyd. As far as David Price, he generally has good numbers against Detroit Tigers, but this is a team, as we know, that hits lefties pretty well, scoring 5 runs a game, do have a winning record against lefties. So I think they'll score a couple runs here. You got to expect. Um, Listen, I mean, 9, I never like to take that number just because it is rough. Listen, Boston should get the job done here. I mean, Price should be good enough. Matt Boyd's just been figured out to me. I wouldn't have any interest in Matt Boyd here.
Next up, 921, 922, Houston and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Jeff, two lefties going to take them out. Keuchel versus Skaggs, both in pretty good form as of late here. Coming back, Carlos Correa looks like still not ready, Jeff, to come back from the injury. And again, why would you rush him back if you're the Houston Astros as is? You're probably going to end up with the best record in baseball, or at least, walk into the playoffs, not be in that wild card round. And your goal, again, is to repeat as World Series champions, not just make the playoffs. So I think they'll take it a little bit slow on him, Jeff. But look at this, minus 130, minus 132. Now down into the teens here. The Angels, Jeff, getting some money here at home, pulling that line lower, even though Keuchel's been on point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you look at the Angels. I mean, they're a team that I think against a lefty, it's hard for me to really get interested in them. They haven't scored a ton of runs this year, really anywhere they are, whether it's at home or against a lefty or whatever. Keuchel's pitched very well. As we starting to buy into him a little bit. I think we know he's a good pitcher, but he's just had some tough luck. I mean, when you have that team behind you, though, it's hard to stay in a cavernous point of no return for too long. He's off of a 6 inning scoreless game. For that, he'd only give up 3 runs over his previous 2 games. Skaggs has been good as well, but I give the lean to Keuchel here. I give the lean to that lineup, and I give the lean to the Astros just because I've said it before. I'm not really interested in taking the Angels against the lefty. I trust Keuchel. He's got good numbers against him in his career. Um, I would go at this price. It's hard to pass up Houston, but the trouble is, Donnie, here, you look at that number. I mean, I guarantee by the end of the day, Houston is the most bet team on the board. I mean, they're a public team. Why is the number dropping the way it is? That looks like a shaky line to me. If that's down to 110-ish, 108 by the time this game goes off, you might just take the Angels just to take them and say, fuck it. Look at that line movement. That's ridiculous, Donnie. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. When have the Houston Astros been this kind of price? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no, I mean it is cheap, but
I
it
mean,
is
other
a
than the
lot of money coming in on Houston and getting lower. We'll see. Maybe they have some surprises in line where coming back from the break, which I think I did was getting a laugh out of. Some Cubs guys, normal starters, were still on rest, Jeff, after the All Star break. So
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
saw
Maybe
that.
Altuve is going to be on rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's you see it sometimes against like the Yankees. Obviously, we saw good prices there, but I mean, the Angels aren't the Yankees. I mean, this is the Angels. I mean, they're a solid team, but I don't really understand this price. This will be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Next up, Jeff, we're going to go to the Battle of New York, 925, 926. Syndergaard versus Herman on the mound. 70% of the early tickets, Jeff, coming in on the Yankees, and a line explosion. Opened up at 135, 133, depending where you're shopping at between Pinnacle and Chris. Now up into the 170s and 180 at Intertops at this point. Talking on the roundtable going forward, I think the Mets are going to have some advantages here in the second half when catching some lines, maybe even tonight at this point. Welcome back, Yoenis Cespedes, fresh off of his golf tour. I don't know, maybe he was on the web.com tour for the past month and a half golfing. We know how much he loves to do that, but he is back in the lineup tonight for the Mets. Decent looking lineup out there. Syndergaard's on the mound, rested. Looks like he's back from his injury and doing well. But the one thing that you can always factor on, Jeff, is how long is Syndergaard going to go? 5, 6, 7 innings. And usually the MO with the New York Mets is just wait out their starting pitching, wait out DeGrom, wait out Syndergaard, wait out Zach Wheeler, and get them in the bullpen. Maybe a first 5 look at a decent price here if you're looking with Syndergaard and the Mets.
Yeah, that's where I'd be looking here. I'd be all in the Mets tonight. Listen, with Syndergaard, I'm very confident in him. You look at Cespedes. Yoenis Cespedes is their best player. Not even close. He's their best player. With him in the lineup, they're a much better offense. Will he make a difference tonight? I don't know. Probably not, but he's in there. He's back. That's helpful. I mean, it's something for this team. They need just something. Give some kind of shot in the arm to them. They've been a bit better offensively, actually, on the road, surprisingly enough. They have the better pitcher here. I'm not a Domingo Herman guy. I've seen just time and time again him get crushed. We saw it in the last game. He's a fifth starter right now. That's what he is. Yeah, I agree with you, Donnie. The Mets first 5 looks pretty good here. On a price, you could probably get even plus a half a run for probably a pretty good price here.
Yeah.
You don't got to even worry about that tie. A tie's a win here. Now, I'm not getting involved with the bullpens here. I would attack these starters. And maybe we can get a little Cespedes, help here. Yeah, I like the Mets first 5.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, you're looking at their lineup that's supposed to be in there: Nimmo, Cabrera, Cespedes, Conforto, Bautista, Flores, Mesoraco, Reyes, and Amar Rosario. Good enough to get some runs here. You would figure that, it takes a little bit. Syndergaard looked like he was back in some pretty good form, so I don't think the Yankees will really get after him. But the question would be is, can the Mets get after Herman? I think they could touch him up in American League ballpark in that short area. Again, getting Cespedes back is big. What's his timing going to be like when he comes back? We don't know that yet, but it's still formidable, right, Jeff? You got to look and say, oh, my God. Cespedes in the 3-hole. Maybe we can, because again, it's not Joey Bats in the 3-hole like we've seen for the last month and a half. Like, I don't give a damn if Cabrera's your hottest batter. I'm going to walk him and just strike out Joey Bats. Not the case anymore. So should be a little bit of fun to watch as we go along. And Dodgers Brewers, Jeff, that's a pretty good matchup here that we're looking at, just looking on paper, because going over the game itself, when you look now at the roster for the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's pretty damn good when you throw Machado in the middle of it. Not many outs, Jeff, in that 1 through 8 going to go in that game. I still see Milwaukee, Jeff, on my odds screen as undecided on pitching, but Richo looks like he's going to get the nod for the Dodgers. So I don't have much in
Wade
breaking down the
Miley.
pitching matchup. If it's Wade Miley on the mound, I mean, 145, 150 probably can't go high enough. Wade Miley, just your average guy out there. He should get pummeled. But the question today is how well will those bats respond for the Brewers? But if it's Miley for the Brewers, I can't have any situational information backing him.
Yeah, I mean, the Brewers really needed the All-Star break. They had lost 6 in a row. They had a little bit of time to get back and just kind of, you know, get their senses back and get a little focus here. I mean, it wasn't a good end to this, first half for them. But they're back. They're at home. Get a big time team coming in here. Obviously, they thought they might have a shot with Manny Machado. Obviously, they ended up not having a shot with him. Yeah, listen, I hear you. I'm not a big Wade Miley guy either. I don't really want to back him. Rich Hill hasn't been particularly good either. Maybe you look over the number, Donnie, between these two.
Hmm.
Two pretty good offenses, two pretty good, you know, uh, you know, two okay bullpens. I mean, I'm starting to
Oh
fade
yeah,
a
you
little
know
bit
what,
on.
Jeffrey? Yeah, you got a good point on that one. I actually would lean towards the first five over in that one because I want every bit of Miley. When you get into that Brewers bullpen, man, there's some strikeout ability, and same way with the Dodgers can get it going. I might actually lean a little bit more on that first half over under than the full game there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe also with the bullpens. I mean, quickly, Donnie, as we kind of get on the Brewers here, Josh
Yeah.
Hader involved. And listen, Donnie, I mean, when are we going to stop with this? Like, and I listen, I want to make this clear. I do think it's a case to case basis. I don't necessarily put Dante DiVincenzo in with this whole thing just because, I mean, Josh Hader was I mean, saying some pretty cruel things, Donnie. I mean, let's be real. I mean, at 17 years old, I think he's readily aware of what he's saying. If he commits a murder, he's going to prison as an adult. He's an adult. He knows the difference on what you should and shouldn't say. Um, you know, I thought it should have been handled a little bit differently. We have to start. Let me ask you. I guess I'll ask you.
Yeah.
What do you think should happen to athletes that do stuff like this or have
Well,
done
if
stuff
they
like
do
this?
it in if they
You
do
think,
it in uniform, you're gonna get banged on. You know what I mean? But if you hold it
but you
against a
don't
guy
think,
who's not even in the organization or in high school for some
yeah.
dumb stuff that he was probably saying back and forth, we probably don't even know the true context of it to what he was saying or who he was saying it to or why, or maybe they were cracking jokes on this and going back and forth. You only see the snapshot of it. Is it wrong? Of course, it's wrong. Nobody's gonna come on and say, no big deal or something like that. But it's
Yeah,
pretty hard to penalize somebody for being in high school, not even in your organization at that point. You can
sure.
almost just put fault. And now going forward here, you're probably going to see a lot more teams, Jeff, say, "Hey, we're thinking about taking Josh Hader in the third round. Do we have his, social media account?" And they go, "Yep, we
Yeah.
already cleared it. Looks good. All right, let's take him." That's going to take place now. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think you gotta really if you're an athlete,
Yeah.
you really gotta wake up with some of this stuff, and I don't care when you started, why not just delete it? Do you really fucking need it? And if you do need one, create a fan one, like, have someone create one for you. Have
Yeah,
your
just be some. I mean, look, the one thing that the young kids probably don't know yet, Jeff, is that the burner account can be very valuable at that point. You can have your Josh Hader, hey, everybody be nice, and then Josh Hader's 19 other burner accounts from his high school account where he can just pop off and say whatever dumb stuff he wants.
Now, Donnie, Josh Hader is not making, career defining money. He's only making 556K
Yeah,
this
he's
year.
young.
He's
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not making a ton of money. He's gonna get paid. He probably doesn't have the ability to get someone to oversee his social media again. He's not that big, but um, I mean, honestly, I guess I know these guys are regular people at the end of the day, but I mean, it's not like most athletes. It's not like they like. I mean, if Josh Hader was on like Twitter, do you think he would really talk to like me if I hit him up? Like, what do you need a Twitter for if you're a professional? I don't really get it.
I don't know.
Like
I
I
guess
get like
it's
for
just a way
us,
to reach out. Like it's a good way for your fans, to if you wanted to go vice versa, back and forth there. But a lot of people are just on Twitter. Again, it's branding. You never know when you're going to sign or a company says, "Hey, why don't you promote Gatorade for us here?" Just send that a couple retweets because usually Major League Baseball, Jeff, had the single worst Twitter accounts. Like I remember Ryan Howard used to have a Twitter account, and he would tweet like once a month, and it would be something from like Subway, $5 off a Subway sub. Like it was even the point where why does he even have it? You're right.
yeah. Listen, Donnie. I've told you before. When I get to the where I feel I've made it, I'm
You'll
getting
never be
the
able.
fuck off. Yes, I will. You'll see. I need Twitter because I have to have it right now. But someday, when I can hit that delete account button, I'll be very excited for it. And you guys will have to search me out and email me, and we'll be regular people again. If I was an athlete making a lot of money, I would have no interest
And
in.
by the way, somebody brings up a good point in the chat box. Troy V, who has time to dig through tweets 6 years ago? Why does do people just research this and say, "I can't wait till he actually gets in the All Star game and I'm going to put it out there"? Like, why wouldn't this have been done like where Josh Hader's on the mound? Boy, I hate that guy. Let me just see his tweets and I'll just try to like expose him. They waited for him to get on the mound in the All Star game. This is some crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, nowadays you can't put anything past people. I mean, it's
Jeez.
really amazing what people will do. And listen, I I agree. I don't think there should be there's whether he was in high school or not. Like, okay, so Donnie, let's say this. Let's say he was in ninth grade and he beat an old woman up and robbed her. Like
No, but see
is
that
is
you're
that
it's
forgiven?
that's two different things. No, because that's an act of aggression. You know what I mean? You're just using words here through a Twitter account where you don't know the context of. I think we would know the context of if he beat up his grandma and put her in the hospital.
But Donnie, like this is the times that we're in. This is still kind of. I mean, obviously it's not that level, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's older though.
I
But again, if he said it now, yes, way more repercussions. But it's hard to date back something 6, 7 years ago where they were in high school and that's what happened. You know?
Twitter's assessment agreed. There's nothing good about Twitter. And Donnie, I've told Gabe and I've talked about this. I think I was on one of Gabe's fantasy shows, and we were talking about Sean McCoy and about just about social media in general. Um, I don't think in society we can, like, I don't think society can continue with social. Like, I don't. It's so magnified at this point. It's literally everything you do is on the internet now. Like if you like, don't you think it's amazing that like you can literally go on the internet right now? Like, look at all like you and I, Donnie. Like we have a decent amount
Yeah.
of followers, both of us. Think if I tweet out right now, something about someone. It could be 8,000% not true, but I'm gonna hit a large amount of people,
Yeah.
and you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna hit a large amount of people by retweeting it, and it's just amazing how one typing and click can get out to so many people. I do think it's a big it's a concern, frankly, to me. I don't know, but I'm getting kind of deep
No,
and
it's
off
out
the.
there now. You can't escape anything now. I mean, back in the day, and if you got a DUI in 1983 and they put your picture in the paper, nobody ever saw it again or could research it or look it up and do anything. Employer, non-employer, or hold it against you at that point. But the internet saves it for all time. Doesn't matter now. If you messed up now, it's always going to be there. Where if you did something in 1976, you're not going to be able to Google search it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a scary world. Let's just say that. Do we have any other games, Donnie? One more? No more?
No, dude, you went over a couple of them there. I can't wait to get back into it because being out of like the flow since last Sunday, now I'm going to see some lineups come in. We'll see what happens. But it's interesting just looking at some of the numbers that are coming across the board and some pitchers because usually looking at who's had a couple good days, which pitcher was in good form last 2 or 3 starts. Now it's almost like that fresh slate again that you have to start, and you do have to take a little bit of a guess heading into the second half. Usually once this weekend goes through, Jeff, to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get back on that normal schedule, it will return. But just be a little bit careful out there and just choose wisely.
Yeah, agreed. Deal with Donnie Rightside. I'm sure he'll help you out.
He sure will.
Um, let's move to a little off topic. We've got about 12 minutes or so. We'll go
Mm,
live till about 11 a.m. this morning. Where are we going here? Couple comments. Anyone have? I don't bet him out WNBA really. Giorgio giving out Bulgarian soccer. There you go.
nice.
Uh, that's two leagues I don't bet on. Actually, I have bet on Bate Borisov in Belarus before. Donnie,
Mm,
I'm gonna let me
yeah.
let me let me get your mind going a little bit early this morning.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Go.
I haven't. This is something that I wasn't gonna do, but I want to see what your mind's working with this morning. I'm
Mm.
gonna give you a team in the Europa League, and I want you to tell me
Oh,
where that team is. See if you can.
time to go to
Let's see how well
sleep.
you do with it.
Yep.
Let's go to Dundalk. Where's Dundalk?
Was that Ireland? You like to talk about those
Whoa!
leagues?
How about
Yeah.
that?
See that? I'm
One
on to
for
you.
one,
I'm on to your
Donnie.
games. Yeah.
Woo! I like it. Okay, let's go to where is uh, where is Milados Podgorica?
Jesus. Let's go Croatia.
Not far off. They're in
Hmm.
Montenegro. Capital of
Ah,
Montenegro is Podgorica. That's not far off from my neck of the woods, Donnie. Let's do a couple more. Beitar Jerusalem.
Israel.
Correct.
Hmm.
Beitar Jerusalem actually a subject of a Vice documentary, Donnie. They do not sign Muslim players. They are
Oh, I
a
remember. I
hundred.
remember a good one. Maybe on HBO was I believe Amari Stoudemire has a team out in Israel. I call it one time.
He is. He's Jewish. Yeah, correct.
Yep. Yep.
Let's do one or two more here. Let's go. Let's try to get it tough here. Let's go Hibernian. Where's Hibernian?
No idea.
Scotland.
Hmm.
Right, you're on your boat a little bit here, Donnie. You weren't far off from a couple of these. Just getting
Nope.
your mind working this morning.
Yeah.
We like to do that here. NFL training camps, Donnie, are underway, or they'll be underway this weekend. I ask you, other than the Eagles, what are you most excited about hearing about in training camp?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I'm a slow. I don't want to say slow learner is the wrong word to use coming into football season, but I like to see the information as it comes across the wire, where you get like the reports out of training camp and like who's starting, who's getting reps, who looks really good and fast. Because as we all know, we have our training camp heroes, Jeff, in every camp, every city there, where some guy who is a basically a walk on, so to speak, a free agent that was signed who wasn't drafted, also all of a sudden looks like the greatest thing since sliced bread and ends up not making the team, and we bitch and moan here in Philadelphia about the 90th guy on the team as opposed to the ninth guy on the team. But overall, Jeff, just getting it underway excites me there. I like to look and see football's back where you get and say, hey, the Hall of Fame game is here. Even though I don't give a damn about it, it's nice to see the guys in their uniforms out there running around. But just as a whole, and I'll be attending training camp this week, I believe Wednesday the 2nd. I want to say either the 1st or the 2nd. I'll be down at the NovaCare peeping straight up to see if Wentz is ready to go or not.
Going to be some interesting things. Obviously, the Rams are an interesting team coming into the
Mhm.
preseason. How Case Keenum gets on with the Denver Broncos. The Browns, obviously, I get a feeling we're going to have some weird story coming out of that camp this year. They have Hard Knocks, which will be interesting. NFL starting to get interesting. Donnie, I was watching last night. This is no NFL connection, but I was watching Friday Night Lights last night, the movie. It was on TV. I was just
Yeah,
watching it. And
great
I
football.
was thinking to myself, I was thinking, wow, I can't wait for football to come back. As seasons kind of get over, it's like, wow, and I was thinking like, there's nothing better than a big time sack or a big time, throw and catch, it's great. By the way, Donnie, Friday Night Lights has to be one of the best sports movies ever. Like straight sports movie. I mean,
Yeah, like I have it right up. I read
very
it a
high level.
few times here. I got it right up here in my right up there in my back. One of my favorite books I've ever read because growing up as a football player, especially in the early '90s when I was in high school, I can't even imagine where it's taken up to the 50th degree down in West Texas down there. It's one of those things where I would love it if I was ever in the area, which I'm never probably going to be in the area of West Texas to go to Midland or Permian or something like that. But I would love to just go to a West Texas high school football game back out there. I think it would be a lot of fun.
When I went to San Antonio, that's actually something I thought about. And when I go down there next time, I'm gonna talk with the Jeff, the guy I know down there, see what his thoughts are. Maybe going to one of those. Donnie, I'm actually watching right now. I watched it last night. I didn't get through all of it, but I'm actually watching. Do you ever watch the ESPN 30 for 30 on Dallas Carter, the team that they played?
Yes, yeah, love it. Yep, get a lot of the
Yeah,
Jesse Armstead always
yeah.
went from Dallas Carter to Miami. And that's why I first caught on to it. But that's an unbelievable one of the best 30 for 30s. Did you actually watch? I believe it might have been on BET or even maybe HBO. The movie about Dallas Carter. They did a movie about a year or two ago, I believe, on that whole Dallas Carter thing. It was pretty good.
No, I got to finish out the documentary,
Yeah,
but
yep,
I never
great.
knew. I was watching it last night. They were talking about it, and like they actually like quickly they had a during their run in 1988 they had issues with grades and they had issues with
Hmm.
the way things were given out, and they had to like game to game see if they were eligible to play. And the one game, it was funny because they were talking about the game, and you know who they mentioned, Donnie? The best player on the other team was Odell Beckham Sr. was the best
Yeah, yep,
player on the other team.
yeah.
And it was just interesting to hear that and just about them. And they were actually the movie Friday Night Lights was not well received in Permian, and to this day
Nope.
it was they hated it. Like Buzz Bissinger, they hate there just because of the way he
Racist,
portrayed them.
racist overtones about the town. Yeah, it didn't put the town in a great light, but it showed exactly how football was king down there. But you're right. The Odell Beckham's father, one of the better players in Texas high school football history. But if you look at Permian's history, man, it's just littered. A big time player that went to Permian, Jeff Roy Williams, the wide receiver for Texas, then went to Detroit, and the Dallas Cowboys, one of the bigger guys. Stoney Case, if you remember that name back in the day, when they believe in 1988, I believe, which is a year after, 1989, the year after the book happened, they actually won the quote unquote mythical national title by running the table. But it's an unbelievable story. It's a lot of fun to catch up with those guys and see what
Yeah,
happens.
Booby Miles, one of the
Yeah.
sad stories in high school
Yep.
history. But Booby Miles actually just recently got out of prison. He was doing a long stretch,
Yeah.
I believe 10 years.
Yeah.
He had some legal issues. Couple more things here, and then we'll wrap it up. WFAN in the tank. Sports Radio 66 and 1019 FM.
2020
WFAN.
sports.
Yeah, they're having some problems, WFAN. I'm actually quite sad about this actually, and I hope it's not true. I'm a big fan of Joe Beningo. I listen to him every day. I get off the show. Joe and Evan, Evan and Joe, Joe and Evan, Evan and Joe. He's under an issue here. According to the report, Donnie, he's named in a $5 million sexual harassment suit, saying that I guess a woman that used to work there claimed that he had propositioned her for threesomes with his wife and with hookers, all sorts of wild antics. But I have read into some interesting things that, according to many people, this woman was a known lush. She was dating people in the workplace. Um, I hope this is untrue. I'm a big Joe fan. I like him a lot. Think he's tremendous. Donnie, if you know anything about Joe Beningo, he was actually a caller that became he went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting, became a broadcaster. Now he has his own show. Evan and Joe were both one was a caller, one won a contest, to become a radio host. They both kind of came from nothing, and this is kind of sad because I'm a big fan of Joe, and I hope it's not true. But you look at the last couple months and years at WFAN. I mean, Craig Carton, obviously with his legal issues. Now Joe Beningo, Mike Francesa was considering leaving the station and retiring. I mean, they've been one or two kind of issues away, Donnie, from getting back to the old days of WFN. I think it's a sad story here. Hopefully, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, WFAN just seems to can't get out of their way. Guys that are laundering money and stealing money for tickets in the morning, and then you got Joe Beningo in the afternoon. I mean, just like if you want a caricature of New York sports scene, just listen to Joe Beningo on the radio in the afternoon. I mean, I don't listen to WFAN that much. Good to have Francesa back because he does keep it interesting. It makes me laugh, and the fake Twitter accounts from Francesa are worth the price of admission alone. But I don't really know much about Joe or Evan. I just remember hearing him a lot on the radio station. Just if you wanted a guy that you thought was just going to be in the middle of Brooklyn on the street corner, that's what Joe Beningo sounds like. So I guess that's what they
Settle
like up
down,
there.
Donnie. I love Joe Beningo. And by the way, that is not a fake Twitter account. That is Mike Francesa tweeting. If you
No, no,
listen
no,
to the
not
show,
his fake ones are better though. Where they have it in the
okay,
like all the dialect that he likes to use. Like you can actually read through it.
okay.
Like whatever the account, Mike Francesa or whatever the account actually says on it. It's a wonderful account. Makes me laugh every day.
I'm working on my Mike Francesa impression, Donnie, which will be released later this year. But we'll see what happens with Joe B. ESPYs, big deal. Who cares? Does anyone care about the ESPYs? Seriously?
No, but
Um,
let me ask you a question, Jeff, for the ESPYs. Is this what it is? Like, all right, we have Rookie of the Year coming up. Ben Simmons, are you going to attend? No, I'm going to hang out in LA. All right, we'll give it to Donovan Mitchell since he's going to be in the audience. Is that how it's determined? Because it pretty much seems like it.
yeah, it looks like it. I mean, listen, there are some good parts of the show, like some of the awards they give out. The Jim Kelly speech was obviously very,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
you know, inspiring. The Allie Raceman and that whole thing that obviously was very courageous. Um, but I mean, the rest of the show is just horrible. I mean, could they get a more wet blanket than Danica? I mean, she's brutal.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
like, I mean, she
she's
looked
not
like a
funny.
like an 11-year-old boy up there or something like that. I mean, at least give us something to look at. Come on.
By the way, I want to make this clear. Aaron Rodgers has to be a fucking idiot. I mean, seriously,
He's a
he actually
creep
left
too.
Olivia Munn for her. Have you ever seen Olivia Munn? She's fucking beautiful. I mean, is he nuts? Like, I guess, I mean, Danica is pretty rich, but I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get Aaron Rodgers. He's a
He's a
fucking
weird
kind of a
dude.
weirdo.
Yeah, he's a
He
weird
is a
dude.
weird. Let's wrap it up here. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show and that we're back. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., or we'll go over the entire baseball card. If that doesn't sound interesting, I don't know what is.
I don't know what the
Football's
hell is. You're
coming.
right.
Yes, football coming. Got a lot of stuff to do over the next couple weeks. We'll get into that more next week. Be there Monday, 10 a.m. for that. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your Friday. Bye bye.